Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. Good night. Hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Today is September 30th. Tomorrow's October 1st, so salmon season is officially in swing. I'm just going to do a little fly tying today and kind of discuss what's going on the Salmon River in New York and Pulaski and the surrounding area too. So I want to cover the weather this past week and the fish that pushed in. And then I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to be tying some flies, answering any questions anyone might have, and going from there. We're just going to go with the flow until I feel like the stream has been a success at what I was getting at, and I want to meet the criterias that I just discussed. So, if there's no questions right now, I'm going to start tying some flies. Tonight I'm going to be tying some egg patterns. My box is pretty empty now, as you can see. The last couple of days I've been losing a lot of tackle. So I'm trying to refill all my colors and my sizes here. So that's the goal, because tomorrow morning, we'll be out there. And hopefully I get to see some of y'all out there. It's going to be a pretty busy weekend, I think, in Pulaski. With the weather that I was talking about, a lot of people got word of it, and there's going to be a lot of people coming up. But just be safe out there, be respectful. Everyone's out there for the same purpose, mostly to have a good time and catch some fish. So just be respectful of each other, and everything will be okay. I personally haven't had any issues with anyone on the Salmon River being jerks or anything, but I have heard horror stories, and I don't doubt that it happens, but just please don't be in that crowd. But okay. All right, let's see what we're gonna tie first. I'm using Gamakatsu octopus hooks. That's my favorite type of hook to use. This one here in particular is a size 2, which is the biggest size you can have on the Salmon River by New York State regulation. So it has to be no more than a half-inch between the hook and the shaft, the hook point and the shaft. So that's called the hook gap. It can't be more than half an inch on the Salmon River. This aims to prevent, but just lessen your chances of accidentally snagging or intentionally snagging a fish. Obviously, if you have a ginormously wide hook, then the chances of you snagging a fish are pretty high. But anyway, we're gonna go with legal hook sizes here. And yeah, because I like to tie these patterns pretty big. Right now, you'll see a lot of 14 millimeter and 16 millimeter beads on the river, and they're hitting those pretty good from what I've seen and read about. So we're gonna make some big flies. Egg sac imitations, or even single egg imitations like those beads are. So let's go over to our tying screen here. And once again, if anyone has any questions throughout the entire time here, just please drop it in the comments here. I'll see it on the screen, and I'll get those answered to the best of my knowledge, which I'm not a professional, but I have fished the Salmon River many times this year. I live about 45 minutes away, so it's not hard for me to get there on a moment's notice. But yeah, it's a good time on the Salmon River. Always is. So we got our Gamakatsu octopus on the vise here. I put a gold bead on it just to help stabilize the weight a little bit. And then I'm going to also add some 0.020 lead-free wire. Get about 2 inches of this. 2 to 3 inches, probably, no, more like 2. And I'm just going to wrap this around the shank of the hook. And then once I get these wraps completed, I'm going to compress these wraps together to form like a solid rod of wire. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist our bead over top of it because it's perfect size for it, just about. And I'm sorry if my fingers get in the way here. I'm trying to be as least intrusive as possible, but it's going to happen. So there we just shoved our wire as far up in there that we could. Now we're going to add our thread, which I have 140 denier UTC Ultra thread in fluorescent orange. It's my favorite thread for salmon and steelhead flies. Just going to do a little jam knot to add that on there, and then discard our clippings. Now we're just going to secure everything down here. We're going to go through the wire, over top of the wire, kind of doing cross wraps. So I'm going diagonal one way while I'm going up, and then diagonal the other way, going the opposite direction. And then I'm just kind of covering these up. So I still haven't decided on the pattern we're doing yet, but all of these flies that I tie here, they all start the same way, give or take a bead. So some of them I don't use a bead, others I do. But what I want to do here is try to cover all the wire to the best of our ability, and also to have like a uniform shape of the egg. Okay. And I just want to do a quick test here to make sure that everyone can hear me. Okay. All right. Sounds like I'm heard. Perfect. Okay. Where was I? So yeah, this is how to start. All my flies typically start for salmon steelhead flies. At least for egg sac imitations. I don't know if I'll tie any woolly buggers tonight or not. Maybe we'll see if anyone requests that. I do have some unique and weird woolly bugger patterns. But okay, first, so I'm looking at my box here and I have quite a bit of my favorite color. So my favorite color right here, it's glowbug yarn in the Oregon cheese colored, and it's my favorite color for egg patterns. And then the hot spot is micro bug yarn in cotton candy. That's my favorite hotspot color. But I got a lot of those on the box here, so I don't have a lot of pink. So pink has been pretty hot on the river, so I definitely want to tie some of those. I'm going to do pink, and then I'm going to do a red hotspot first, and then maybe, yeah, red's probably good. Red should be a pretty good color for it. Alright, now I'm just gonna find the end of this yarn. It's all twisted. This is just like a pack of yarn I got from Dick's Sporting Goods. I like these colors for steelhead, so the red, white, and pink, they all came in a single pack together. So I figured why not? It was pretty cheap. It's definitely not the same quality as glow bug yarn, but nonetheless, it's still pretty good, and I like it. So first thing we're gonna do is just cut off about 1.5 inches of this. Use like regular household scissors when cutting yarn, because this stuff's pretty thick. It'll ruin your tying scissors pretty quickly. It'll dull them out, so we don't want that. But I'm just gonna go kind of in the center of our thread wraps here, and then I'm going to take our glow bug yarn, well in this case just yarn, wrap it around the thread. I'm gonna make a loop like this, and then I'm gonna pull this up and straight down. We've got to give that a good tug and bounce it a little bit to help cinch it down. And then I'm gonna go on either side of it a couple times, doing like a figure 8 pattern. And then I'm going to go just around the material, just like this, a couple times, and then lock it in. If there are any questions in the chat, just let me know. Drop a comment. To comment, you do have to be signed in to YouTube via your Google account or whatever account you have on YouTube. You need to do that in order to leave a comment and ask a question. But if anyone needs me to slow down, kind of explain anything on this fly, let me know, and I will. I'll try my best to explain everything I'm doing, but if you come in late, you may just have to get caught up on the next one, or just ask questions. Or if you have any questions about fishing in general, I did cover a little bit of stuff in the intro, but really just intro related and not actual in-depth conversation. So that is really secure now. I'm not worried about that at all going anywhere. But I'm going to take our whip finish tool here and do a 5 or 6 turn whip finish. I'm going to do that twice, and then later at the end of the night I'm going to get all the flies I tie and apply head cement to those wraps, especially around my knot, just to make sure that everything is nice and tight. Just give it that extra armor it needs for fish biting into it, or when you're stuck on bottom and pull it through rocks or gravel or twigs. All right. So what we did not do here, and completely my fault, is put our hotspot in. But that's okay. Not all egg patterns need hotspots. So now I'm just going to pull straight up on the material here, and then with our household scissors, not our tying scissors, I'm gonna cut straight across while I'm pulling, just like that. And then I am going to flare this all out, give it some shape, just like this. So whenever this yarn gets wet, and this is generally for all types of yarn, it gets pretty, it's kind of hard to explain, but it comes alive essentially. But this thing looks really cool when it gets wet in the water, and it's pretty good at catching fish. So there we go. There's not a lot of material on the underside here, which is okay. Well, like I said, when it gets wet, it'll fall down a little bit. But I also like this because it means that there's nothing in the way in order to set this hook once the fish takes it. So there's nothing stopping this hook from being set. I know some people like to use the method, and I myself too like this occasionally, where you use a pen or some sort of small diameter hole to put some of the glow bug yarn through, and then you pull it out, tie it on your hook that way. And you can do this on the top of the hook and the bottom of the hook to give it a full body. A lot of people like that because they just like the full body appearance. And who knows, maybe I'll do one or two later. We'll see. But tonight I'm more focused on just quick and easy flies. Those do take a couple more seconds or minutes, but that's fine. Okay, we're gonna do another one here, and we're gonna keep rolling if there's no questions. So the weather in Pulaski and in the area here has been phenomenal this past week. So this summer's been super dry, and we did get some rain in early September, but this Tuesday and Wednesday we got a lot of rain. I'm talking probably 6 inches or so of rain in those 2 days, and this brought in a lot of fish. So in those 2 days there were a lot of fish pushing up through. The river went up to 1500 CFS, which is pretty significant flow for this river. Many of you that have fished it before would not be comfortable fishing in those conditions. Definitely wading, at least. The fishing was good, but you just had to fish right at the bank and not fish in the normal holes where you would think to fish on a normal day. Those holes were just inaccessible, and not only were they inaccessible, but the fish also weren't sitting in those holes. They were only sitting right along the bank. So I think Zana from the Salmon River Shop said it best. She did a shorts video and posted it on a couple of Facebook groups and on YouTube, saying that to look down because the fish are at your feet. I found that amusing because so many people will just cast right over top of however many fish, and it's kind of crazy. But she's right. When the high water comes in like this, the fish are usually, and not always, there's always gonna be some fish out in the current, but it just puts a lot of strain on them. So they're usually gonna be along the edge of the water where the current is the least flowing, and they get a little rest from the push that they just swam up miles to get to where they are. I mean, they're still there to spawn, and that is their main purpose. So they're gonna have to save their energy to do that. All their energy is going into spawning. So they'll go in the slower water. But, okay. So we got our wire on here. We used a 0.020 lead-free wire. We got a gold bead head on here, and we're just going to twist the gold bead head over top of these wraps as much as possible. My diameter of my bead head is very close to the diameter of these wraps around the shank of the hook. So sometimes it goes in, other times it doesn't. But if you can just get it underneath it, it just helps it be a little more secure. So now we're going to add our thread, UTC 140 denier, fluorescent orange. Now, the color can vary, but I like fluorescent orange the most. We got a little bit of thread split there. So we'll just go back, fix that, finish our jam knot. And we're going to snip off the tag end here. Throw that away. Okay. So now we're just going to work on covering these wraps. But yeah, the weather's been good. It's been cold in the mornings too. So the water temperature has been dropping. We're in the 60s for sure now. I haven't seen 70 in a few days at least. Even in the afternoons, the water's temperatures are still staying pretty low. Low to mid 60s. And then throughout the end of the day, it comes up to mid 60s for water temperature. But in the mornings, the last 2 mornings specifically, it's been in the 30s here. So it's been pretty cold. I'm kind of upset because I lost a pair of gloves this morning. But I lost one glove. So I'm a little upset about that, but that's my own dumb fault. I left them lay on the bank somewhere, and then I was not in a spot where I wanted to go back and get them. But, okay, so we got our thread base now. It's a nice uniform body, and the wire is completely covered. So we're going to go for another pink fly. This time we're going to do a slightly different variant of the egg pattern. And I do have videos on all these on the channel on how to tie them, but I do like to go over them here anyway. But this one is kind of just like a bunch of small eggs thrown together. And it's a pretty good looking fly, in my opinion. It doesn't block the hook set. Nothing covers the hook gap. So that's fun. And just really helps. So when you're cutting yarn, don't forget to use your household scissors so you don't ruin your flies. Your fly tying scissors, that is. Okay, so this time we're going to go to the back of our thread, and it's going to be right about the hook point. We're going to pinch our material, give our bobbin a counterclockwise spin to catch all the material as we wrap around it. And I'm going to tie that on there just like that. This is butted up against the back edge of the wire wrap underneath the wraps here. So as you can see, it kind of gives the whole body a fairly uniform profile. So we're just going to tug on this a little bit and make a small loop like this, pinch it, and then do a couple wraps around the material and then around just the shank of the hook. I'm going to do that again, making a slightly larger loop. And do the same thing, but now we are going to add just a pinch of some red distinction for the blood spot in the yolk. So we're going to add that between our eggs here. Just gives it a little extra flair. Multicolor. Plus, I think it makes the fly look better. So now we got one more loop to make. Just gonna be a small little loop. And around the material, around just the shank. just to help lock everything in. All right, now we just got to do some trimming of that last part. And of the yolk. All right, that fly's done. Just about. We just got to do our whip finish. And if there's any questions in the chat right now, I'm just going through tying these flies because the last couple days my my box has been thinning out, and my other box is also thinning out. So I need to tie some more of these for tomorrow morning, because in a few hours I'll be driving down to the Salmon River. I live about 45 minutes away, so it's not, I don't have to leave right now like some of you may have to if you're trying to be here tomorrow, but I got a short little trip, which is convenient, I will admit, but I do want to get out there tomorrow morning with the crowd. So there we go, got another one now, and pretty simple fly. It comes alive when you get it wet, and we'll move on to another one. We're going to do a different color this time, and a different pattern too. So yeah, we'll do a different pattern and a different color. This next pattern is kind of crazy. But I like it. It's kind of one of those patterns that just aggravates the fish, I think. So you're not getting the same type of bite, but it really aggravates the fish, so it's a good one. I'm gonna do this one in red because, you know, aggravation and red seem to go together. I'm cutting about an inch and a half of this red yarn, and for this pattern I'm using the full amount. I'm not splitting it up. Getting another Gamakatsu octopus hook in size 2, and we're gonna use a red one this time instead of black. It's a red on red. Perfect. We're gonna put a gold bead head on it again. Just like this. All right, we got our bead on. Clamping that down tight. Get a little refreshment. Sorry about that. Okay, once again, like I said, all my salmon flies, steelhead flies start out like this for the most part. I won't always use a bead, but most of the time I will. Just getting some lead-free wire now, 0.020. Wrapping that around the shank of the hook and then tucking it in under our bead head if possible. I have not been having much success with tucking these in tonight, but that's okay. Yeah, normally if you push the wire and twist your bead head a little bit, it'll eventually slide through, but In this case, it's not doing it, but that's okay. It's okay. Now we're going to add our 140 denier UTC Ultra thread to the shank of the hook here. And start to give our wire some thread wraps and cover those up. Because most of these patterns that I'm tying leave a gap between the hook shank and the hook point, I prefer to keep these threads hidden, or the wire hidden, by covering them up with thread and smoothing out the body transition from the shank to the thread wraps over top of the wire. You just gotta build a little dam there. And it's not perfect, it doesn't have to be. Many of these flies I will probably lose tomorrow morning, so definitely does not have to be perfect, and I don't want to spend too much time on these flies. We're not doing competition Euro nymphing flies here with articulated streamers and nothing right now. We're doing salmon eggs. Okay. Nothing crazy. Alright. So this time we're gonna make sure that we get our hotspot yolk. And because we're tying red, I'm just going with any other color. In this case, I'm going to do pink. I'm going to lay the pink over top of the red yarn. And then I'm going to wrap both of those around my thread. I did not give myself a lot of pink here, so I'm going to be extra careful tying this in. Okay, that's clumped in there nicely. Making a single wrap around, straight up, and rewind. I said I was doing a different fly here, and I am. Here is just one of those crazy toys that you squeeze and the liquid pops out. I am going to use this to make a jiggly tail on this fly. So all I'm doing is snipping one off here. And I don't have any red. I would go with the same color match, but since I don't have red, I'm just going to go with orange. And I'm going to tie that right on top of the hook shank here, just like I would like a tail for like a stonefly nymph or a mayfly nymph. I'm just going to tie that, try to keep it on top of the shank of the hook. It definitely wants to twist up there, so just be careful with that. But nonetheless, we're going to tie this on here and secure it as much as possible. This kind of like mixes multiple flies together, which I think is why it aggravates the fish. So it's going to be like a little bubbly underneath here, which is fine. We're just going to wrap it as best as we can. This thing, we want to make sure that it's tight, but that it doesn't also just pop right off as soon as you put pressure on it. Because you will get these stuck on the bottom of the river and have to pull them out because of the bead head and the lead-free wire. These things sink good with your split shots. Okay, now we're just gonna go in the midpoint of our stuff here, and now we can add our yarn material. So we've got red and yellow, red and pink, excuse me. I'm just gonna wrap that around the thread and then attach it to the top of the shank. I'm gonna really pull down, and with 140 denier, you can do that pretty easily. Definitely don't try it with 70. You may snap your thread. So we're doing some cross wraps around the shank of the hook around the material, followed by some horizontal wraps around only the material, like this, horizontal wraps or helicopter wraps. And then, yeah, pretty much done with that. If you're watching this video after I've gone live already, you can still drop a comment, and I will respond via the comment thread instead of live and in person here. Or if it's something that a lot of people are commenting on, I can bring it up in the next live stream or in a separate video. But that's secured now. We're going to do some whip finishes and cut this thing off. Oops, that did not go as planned. There we go. Okay. There we go. Now we're just going to trim off our material here. And we got a little salmon egg with a hot spot and all. Just gonna fluff that out. And our salmon egg also has a tail, because eggs have tails too, you know. Just kidding. All right, these flies are ugly, but that's the point. Okay, we're gonna do that same fly, but this time we're gonna use a yellow tail. So going back to our Gamakatsu hooks. This time we'll go with the standard black hook, or silver, whatever you want to call it. Gonna still use a bead. I like the way that they float better with a bead head on there. Well, and when I say float, I really mean drift. I think the bead gives it a better presentation. Sometimes these slide right on, other times they don't. But whenever they don't, I just grab a set of needle nose pliers and just kind of guide it around, just like that. And every hook that you try to use these on is going to be different. Obviously, if you try to put this bead head on like a size 8, it's going to have a harder time going around the bend of the hook than it does on a size 2. So, all right. Curious to hear about what other people's experience have been so far this year. I personally have been getting into some cohos and a few kings, but I've also been getting into a lot of fresh fish that are breaking me off constantly. I'm using 17-pound copolymer P-line, which is really strong line. If anyone's used it before, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm doing that to, if it's high, if the water's high, I've been using 12-pound fluoro with Berkeley Vanish, and if the water is kind of low and clear, I've been using 10-pound Berkeley Vanish fluoro, and these fish are still snapping me off within a minute or so. or sometimes even more or less. So they're fresh fish. They're fighting as soon as you hook into them. They're swimming upstream as fast as they can, or downstream, and just immediately breaking you off. Even if you're by yourself and no other people casting around or accidentally reeling in while your fish is running up, they're still just so fresh and strong, snapping people off everywhere. But it's like that in the early season, September. It's pretty common for that to happen. But with tomorrow being October, we're gonna start to get into those zombies. You know what I mean? So people are gonna start hooking some ugly looking fish, and some people are gonna be taking those fish home to eat, and I don't understand. They just get too excited with their first salmon or whatever, and they don't do the research. But it's all good. I'm only keeping co-hosts this year, so as a lot of people are. But it's always good to see the first timers out there. Yeah, if anyone sees me out there, say hey. I'd love to meet up with some people out there and see what everyone's doing. I'll be on the Salmon River tomorrow morning, bright and early. Okay, now we got to attach our yellow tail this time. So I found a pack of these with multiple colors. It's at the Dollar Tree or something like that. And they're really good for making these tails on these and other flies. They're super animated, as you can see. They kind of just wiggle all around through the current, which is good. Really good. But the hard part is attaching these things to the hook, because they are not cooperative when it comes to tying on. But that's okay. I don't want it to twist around like it is right now. Gonna hold it up top. Tie a bunch of wraps here. We also don't want it to go straight up like that. Our last one was a little more cooperative than this even, but that's okay. Just doing our best to cover these up and keep it from twisting. We're going straight up, and we're not having a good time with that right now. That's okay. These flies don't have to be perfect. But this one is going to look a little weird, I think. It's alright. And just the fact that this is a little longer base than I like. Probably going to have to do another variant of this fly. So we'll go back to the back of the shank here. We're going to tie this one in pink. Do a little audible here. I wanted to do red, but we will do pink instead. And just because it's a little longer, I have an available strand here a little longer without having to cut any new material. And this tail is just giving us a hard time today. What the heck? It's okay. It'll be alright. Just making a loop. Securing said loop down. And then we'll make another loop. Then after this loop, we're going to add a hotspot in red this time. Not always. Change your colors up. Play around. Just play with what you like. The best part about flies like this is if you're confident in fishing them, that's all that matters. Be confident in the colors and styles that you're tying. And you'll have more success with it. If it doesn't look good to you, then don't fish it. It's that simple. Alright, this thing is ugly. This tail was just not cooperating with us. Cooperating. That's okay. Ugly flies catch fish too. Sometimes ugly flies catch fish more than perfect flies. Ask anyone that fishes woolly buggers or waltz worms, hare's ears, all those flies. The uglier the better. Alright, that is. I'm hoping that that's true because this fly is ugly. Look at how crooked that tail came on there. I just could not get it to straighten out. It looks like it wrapped underneath a little bit too much and it pulled it that direction, but like I said, we'll still fish it tomorrow, see how it does. But we got 4 flies now. Coming up on 45 minutes, or a little past 45 minutes. We're heading to the Salmon River in the morning. Hopefully we have a good time. I'm meeting up with my boss tomorrow morning. He wanted to go out fishing, so I told him that I would take him. So there, we got that list off. I'm gonna throw the materials on here. Okay, moving on to our next fly. If there's any questions, please let me know along the way. Whether it's about tying this fly or any other salmon fly, or if it's about fishing salmon, if it's about Pulaski, the weather, how it's been. I can answer all the above. Or, you know, if you got a random question, let me know. Sign into your Google account. Drop your question. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the like, man. Or ma'am. Man or ma'am. Or other. Thank you for liking. Likes really go a long way in getting the content out there to other people, other viewers like you. So I appreciate it. All right, we got our bead on there. We had to use some physical coercion to get it on there with our needle nose pliers. That's okay. That is okay. Gonna use some lead-free wire, 0.020. Yeah. Words and numbers. I deal with too many freaking numbers. So if I get a number wrong, don't give me too much trouble, alright? Do numbers for a living. Alrighty. So we got that fly. Last one done there. We got 3 pinks and 1 red so far. I do need to do 1 more pink. And probably 1 more red. Then maybe I'll start doing some greens. If I can get some greens. Some chartreuse. Right now I'm just trying to shove our wire underneath our bead like that. Help lock it in. And then allow us to tie our jam knot behind it. We're going to cover all these wires with thread wraps. Just to keep the underside of the fly a fluorescent orange color instead of a shiny silver. Doesn't have to be perfectly covered, but by the time I get this body a little more uniform in shape, it's typically going to be just about perfectly covered. See, we are coming up on an hour now. Still have not received any questions. So we're going to keep rolling here. Okay. That looks complete. This time we'll go red. And we're going to do about 1 inch. Of this material. Pinch it together. Then we're going to get some pink for a hotspot yolk. We're prepping the pink there just by laying it on top of the clump of red yarn that we have. And then we're going to attach that to our thread in a minute here. Okay. Alright, so here's what I was talking about. Just a thin little pink slip here. I'm going to fold that over top of our thread and attach it like this. I'm going to really pull it without pulling the hook out of the vise or breaking our thread free. So those would be 2 bad things and we would have to spend some time remedying those. And we don't want to waste time. No one likes their time wasted. So this is just a simple red salmon egg fly. I'm gonna go a little smaller this time to see if I can get the body shape to look a little better. But once we feel that it's secured on there, we're going to do our thread wraps with the whip finish tool. And snip that off, and then we'll trim our eggs, or egg singular. So you gotta grab the clump and pull upwards while cutting. One, it makes it easier, and then it helps it flare out when you're done with it. Try to get it in one swift motion, like right here you see it, I miss a clump. So I'm trying to get that even. Okay, that's pretty good. Maybe a little bit of a trim here. Okay. Now we got a good clump there that we're gonna just shape with our fingers, and we're gonna watch this come to life in the morning when it gets hits the water. It'll look a lot better than it does right here, but I think it looks pretty good, right? I think it looks pretty good. Good little fly. Little salmon egg. It looks to be about probably, that one's probably like a 12 millimeter, 13 millimeter comparison to like the beads, the trout beads that you'll find for like steelies or for salmon. But yeah, there's that. Okay, we're gonna do one more red one here, and we're gonna do this one back on a red Gamakatsu octopus hook, size 2. After we put our bead on, of course. Always. And this time it just slid right on with our hand, so no need for the needle nose pliers. Gonna get our wraps here. Like I said, the weather's been good. If you missed that part of the stream, the weather has been phenomenal this past week. Thank you for the like up there, or out there. I see your like. Just let me know if you have any questions, and I hope that we can turn that like into an even better version of itself, if I can answer your questions. But anyway, the weather, it's been good. Lots of rain Tuesday, Wednesday. The river came up to 1500 CFS, and then by the end of the day Wednesday it started dropping. What are the current conditions at? Let's see. There's no way for me to do this on this computer or on my phone, because my phone is my secondary camera right here. Anyway, the river's been coming down. It's still probably going to be a little high to fish this weekend, higher than people have been fishing the last couple weeks. but it's manageable. Just be careful out there with waders. Make sure that you have cleats or felt or whatever you're using. Be safe. I heard a story or read about a boy on Facebook that, well, not a boy, but he was in his 20s, who fell in the other week or the other day and was just floating down the river, not in a good way. Just, and I'm not saying that he wasn't on the right thing, because I don't know, but wear waders with a belt, proper belt that can tighten the whole way. Wear boots that have proper grip. This is a slimy and wet river. A wet river, yeah, obviously. Yep, see? Learning everything possible on this channel here. You learn the water's wet. Just make sure you have proper gear. There's so many different options out there. There's no excuses to not have it. It's all relatively cheap, or you can get relatively cheap stuff. And if you take care of them, they'll last for years. Okay. The base of our fly is ready to go. Now we just gotta add the shape of it. No questions out there, which is kind of surprising. The last stream I did had quite a few questions, so if you have questions, just let me know. Let me know in the comments, but in order to leave a question, you must be signed in. Okay, we got red and pink again. We got a little bit bigger of a hotspot this time. Last time I wasn't really pleased with how the hotspot turned out, so we're adding more. Which is the best part about these flies being so quick. You can make minor adjustments as you go to just make the fly that much better every time. And there's so many different ways that you could tie these, so this is just one way. I mean, even this stream tonight, I've demonstrated 4 different flies of very similar color, size, and shape, but all 4 flies are a different type, not even just different color, different type. I've done 4 flies in 3 different colors, or 2 different colors, and then 2 different tail colors too for the ones that I had tails on. Okay, we got this secured good. Like I said, if anyone has any questions, drop a comment and I'll answer any questions about fishing, fly tying, you name it. Right now we're just filling our box up for tomorrow morning's trip to the Salmon River in Pulaski, because our fly tying box has gotten a little bit empty the last couple of days, just from all the tackle we've lost on the river, or donated, as I would say. I always give my daily donation to the bottom of the river. So we're just tying some flies, having a good time, and discussing salmon fishing. The weather has been phenomenal. Cold mornings. If you're coming out or up to the Salmon River in Pulaski, make sure that you are dressed appropriately. It has been in the 30s in the morning, the last 2 mornings, and it's been pretty cold. So Please come prepared. Bring gloves if you need gloves. Bring a jacket. Bring a rain jacket, because you never know when it's going to rain. Lake effect rain is a thing. Pretty good size egg. About a size 12 millimeter trout bead alternative. And now we got 6 from tonight. So good stuff. If you do have a question, you will have to sign into your Google account before leaving the question here. But moving on, we got our favorite hooks, the Gamakatsu octopus hooks, size 2. I've already got a lot of size 4s and 6s in here, so I'm not tying any of those tonight. Most of the ones I've been losing are the bigger egg patterns that I've been tying, just because a lot of people have been using and losing the 14 millimeter to 12 millimeter range for beads, or in this case egg sac imitations, using a gold bead head, of course. And yeah, don't know what color we're gonna do next. Maybe white. How's white sound? We haven't done a white fly for a little bit. I still got 4 or 5 in that box, probably even more in the other one. But let's try a white egg pattern, which will signify like a washed out salmon egg, which this fly would be excellent for steelhead season. But there's been some reports of early steelies in the river, even up north in the Black River. I've seen some pictures of steelhead being caught this year, this early in September. So they are eating the salmon eggs pretty regularly, every day. So we are attaching our wire and shoving it underneath our bead head as best as possible. Then adding our UTC 140 denier ultra thread to the shankable hook with a jam knot. This is probably going to be our last fly, unless there's an overwhelming number of questions while I'm tying this. This is going to be our last one. But that doesn't mean that I won't answer any questions. And if you have questions after this live stream has ended, just let me know in the comments and I'll reply back to the comment. Although it's always best to get live feedback in person. I can only type so fast. So now's the best time. But even if you can't have your question answered at the best time, any time is better than no time. All right. I'm gonna dig for the white end of this bunch of yarn, and it's probably completely buried at the bottom, of course. Yeah, this is not ideal. Yeah, of course, right at the bottom. It's alright, we only need like an inch of it too, of course. Had to take the whole bag apart just to get 1.5 inches, 2 inches here. Using our household scissors so we don't dull our fly tying scissors. And then we're going to use a red red hotspot, yolk, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same. Doesn't the hotspot should not be the same thickness as your material. So I'm just laying it on top of the white, folding it over the thread, and then attaching it to the top like this. If you're coming in late, there are plenty of other examples of these flies. I tied 4 different kinds tonight, and multiple different colors now. We're just making sure that our yarn is properly attached here, and then it's not going to go anywhere before we do a whip finish and finish it up. There we go. 1 whip finish and 2 whip finish. There we go. Flip that off, and then we're going to trim our fly into the shape that it needs to be. We are heading to the Salmon River in a few hours now. Look at that beautiful white looking egg. The red hotspot. Okay. No questions in the chat. It's perfectly fine. Now the only thing we're doing is we're gonna add glue, head cement to be specific, to the bottom of the flies on the wraps, just to help lock them in. We're going to do this for all 7 flies that we tied today. Lock those threads in place. Let it settle there for a second. And then get another one. The best part about using these bead heads are the fact that you don't have to worry about tying too much material towards the hook eye. So you don't have to worry about blocking your leader from going through the eye of the hook. I personally have done that. I'm sure if you're a fly tyer, at some point or another, you've gotten the material too close to the eye of the hook and kind of screwed yourself when it comes to tying your fly to your leader. We've all done it. So just applying a little bit of head cement here to all the flies we tied tonight. Just applying it directly to the underside of the fly where our thread wraps are exposed. I'm using an old bodkin to apply these. And just kind of cleaning up, making sure there's no excess glue on the bead. And we're going to let these dry overnight. We're gonna have some flies in the morning. This one's gonna need a little bit extra. Alright, what I did there is, unfortunately, I got some glue on the actual material. So try not to do that. It's not the end of the world. But I do not like to do that because it locks that material in place there and makes it kind of ugly looking, in my personal opinion. Try to just get it on the thread wraps and no more. Okay, this is our last one right here. Last one. So if you are out on the Salmon River tomorrow, good luck to you. I hope you get that fish that you're trying to catch. Remember, be smart about yourself, personal safety, and respectful. Be smart about how you're approaching these fish. They are catchable. Gotta take your time. It's my biggest thing I always tell myself when I'm out there is to take my time bringing these fish in. But in the same respect, I don't want to be the annoying guy that has a fish on for 10 minutes while others are fishing around me. So don't be that guy. Or gal, of course. Alright. These are all drying now. So, if you got any questions, let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys next time. We're about an hour and a half now into the stream. I got some flies tied for tomorrow and to refill my fly tying box a little bit. Just a little, not a lot. But nonetheless, we got it done. And I'm hoping to see you guys next time. Everyone, have a good night.